Hello friends, fellow YouTubers, and mystery lovers. In today's episode, I have compiled a series of ridiculous, unsolved, and somewhat unexplainable mysteries. From strange lights, strange sounds, evil saucers and unfounded abductions to the infamous haunted houses. According to a legend, more than 12,000 UFO sightings were reported to Project Blue Book, a tiny, top-secret Air Force team, between 1947 and 1969, at the height of the Cold War. Their objective? Is to conduct a scientific investigation into the incidents and determine whether any of them posed a threat to national security. I've presented to you some of the bizarre or unresolved riddles that have persisted for decades, if not centuries. Number 1. While discussing mysteries, the Bermuda Triangle is an obvious choice. The Devil's Triangle, often known as the Bermuda Triangle, is a region in the western North Atlantic Ocean where numerous ships and aircraft have mysteriously vanished. Some hypotheses say that either a supernatural force resides in the triangle or that both nature and human error contributed to its formation. Midway through the 20th century, the notion that the region was particularly prone to disappearances emerged. However, most sources reject the notion that there is any mystery. Flight 19, a training flight of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers that vanished on December 5, 1945, was the most prominent occurrence. The squadron's flight plan called for them to fly 227 kilometers directly east from Fort Lauderdale, 117 kilometers north, and then 230 kilometers back to finish the trip. The plane never made it back to the base. Investigators from the Navy determined that the aircraft ran out of fuel because of a navigational error that caused the disappearance. Number 2. The hum is the next item on the list. The term the hum was frequently used to refer to accounts of a pervasive and intrusive low-frequency humming, rumbling, or droning noise that was audible to many individuals but not to everyone. Worldwide, including in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada, hums have been detected. At least 2% of people, each hearing it at a different frequency between 32 Hz and 80 Hz, varied from 0.5 to 2 Hz, were able to hear the Taos Hum, according to research on the phenomenon conducted in the early 1990s. An earlier British study revealed comparable outcomes. For decades, residents of Taos, New Mexico, have reported hearing a low-pitched hum that has been described as sounding like a distant engine. Despite numerous investigations, the source of the Taos Hum remains a mystery. Number 3. The wow. The signal was a radio signal that was picked up in August 1977 that was so uncommon and strong that the researcher who found it annotated the data with the word wow. The origin of the signal is still a mystery. It was a narrowband radio signal that was discovered by the Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University in the United States, used to bolster the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and never again discovered. Number 4. The Voynich Manuscript. The Voynich Manuscript is a book from the 15th century that was written in an unidentified script and has strange drawings throughout. The manuscript's remaining leaves give the idea that it was intended to be a pharmacopoeia or to include issues in medieval or early modern medicine. Yet, several speculations concerning the publication's history, the content of its text, and its intended audience have been sparked by the picture's perplexing elements. The manuscript's interpretation and purpose have eluded researchers and codebreakers for centuries, despite their examination. Number 5. The Dancing Plague of 1518 was a mysterious event that occurred in Strasbourg, then a free city within the Holy Roman Empire, now in France, in which hundreds of residents danced uncontrollably and ostensibly against their will for days on end. The mania lasted for about 2 months before mysteriously coming to an end. A woman identified as Frau entered the street and started dancing in July 1518. She continued dancing till she passed out from tiredness but seemed unable to stop. She took a nap and then started the compulsive, frantic activity again. She carried on in this manner for several days, and within a week, more than 30 additional people also experienced the same symptoms. Long after the point of harm, they continued. The city's authorities were concerned about the growing number of dancers. The civic and religious officials believed that increasing the amount of dancing would be beneficial, so they set up guild halls for dancers to congregate in, musical accompaniment for the dancing, and professional dancers to assist the sick dancers. This simply made the epidemic worse, and finally, the dance compulsion engulfed as many as 400 people. Due to their efforts, several of them perished. The enthusiasm started to fade in early September. The dancing epidemic was once attributed to demonic possession and blood that was too hot. Researchers in the 20th century hypothesized that those affected may have ingested rye bread tainted with the fungus ergot, which is known to cause convulsions. The American medical historian John Waller's idea that the dance epidemic was a type of mass psychogenic illness, which he explained in various writings, was the one that was most widely accepted. Number 6. The Shroud of Turin. The shroud means a cover or a veil, so some people think that the Shroud of Turin, a piece of cloth, is the burial shroud of Jesus Christ. Although the image on the shroud depicts a man with wounds that are consistent with the crucifixion, the shroud's veracity has been disputed for decades. Number 7. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. The Ural Polytechnical Institute's experienced hiking team, led by Igor Dyatlov, had set up camp on the Soviet Union region's eastern slopes of Kholat Syakhl. The hikers were found dead throughout the area, some with strange injuries, after something forced them to cut their way out of their tent overnight and abandon the campsite while wearing clothing that was insufficient for the heavy snowfall and below freezing conditions. Their demise's origin is still a mystery. Upon the discovery of the group's bodies, a Soviet inquiry found that 6 of them had perished from hypothermia while the other 3 had perished from physical abuse. Another victim had a tiny break in his head, 2 others had severe chest injuries, and 1 victim had a significant skull injury. 4 of the victims were discovered floating in a creek. 3 of these 4 suffered soft tissue injury to the head and face, including 2 missing eyes, 1 missing a tongue, and 1 lacking eyebrows. The study came to the conclusion that the deaths were caused by a compelling natural force. Animal assaults, hypothermia, an avalanche, katabatic winds, infrasound-induced fear, military participation, or some combination of these explanations have all been proposed to explain the unexplained deaths. Number 8. The Phoenix Lights. In 1997, a large V-shaped configuration of lights was reportedly seen in the sky by thousands of individuals in Phoenix, Arizona. The origin of the lights has been investigated extensively, but nothing has been found. Many of witnesses reported seeing lights between 7:30 and 10:30 p.m. MST in an area of around 480 kilometers that stretched from Nevada through Phoenix to the edge of Tucson. Some eyewitnesses reported witnessing what resembled a massive, square-shaped UFO with 5 spherical lights. The incidents involved 2 distinct occurrences: a triangle arrangement of lights that was spotted passing over the state, and a string of stationary lights that were seen in the Phoenix area. Years later, Fife Symington, the governor of Arizona at the time, recalled seeing the episode and called it otherworldly. Many explanations, including aliens, some kind of military training, and current Air Force training, have been offered at various periods. Number 9. 9. Chinese river turns blood red overnight. Waterways should typically have water that is at least somewhat transparent. But a river in Wenzhou, China, abruptly turned a terrifying shade of red. Those who live close to the about 1,150-foot-long river awoke to discover the water had taken on a dark blood crimson tint. Pollutants from industry and people are progressively harming rivers and oceans throughout the world. The color of a river in Wenzhou, China, has significantly changed. Residents of the neighborhood who live next to the roughly 1,150-foot-long river woke up to see the water had taken on a dark blood red tint. The previous evening, everything seemed normal. By 4 a.m., according to one villager, the river was clear, but an hour later, crimson hue began to seep through. There are no chemical factories nearby, and there was no smell either. The incident has left the locals perplexed as to how it could have occurred. Little else surrounds the river but a neighboring market, a few private dwellings, and some strewn trash. Nothing comparable, according to the locals, has ever occurred. Soon after the unusual event, the water returned to its original color. An investigation into the Red River has been started by the Environmental Agency. There hasn't been any proof of industrial pollution so far. It has happened before for a Chinese river to turn red. The Yangtze River took on a red color back in 2012. Sewage and pollution were ruled out as major factors by experts. Number 10. The Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste's crew had abandoned the ship, which was discovered adrift in the Atlantic Ocean in 1872. The ship was well loaded with provisions, and there were no indications of a struggle or malicious intent. The crew's whereabouts are still unknown. On December 4, 1872, Mary Celeste, a commerce brig registered in America, went missing off the coast of the Azores. She was discovered by the Canadian brigantine de Gracia with only part of her sails up and without her lifeboat. Number 11. After a significant earthquake, a 15-meter tsunami cut off the cooling and power to 3 Fukushima Daiichi reactors, resulting in a nuclear catastrophe that started on March 11, 2011. In the first 3 days, the 3 cores mostly melted. Due to significant radioactive leaks over days 4 to 6, the event received a Level 7 assessment on the International Nuclear and Radiological Event Scale. The catastrophe caused damage to all 4 Fukushima Daiichi reactors, totaling 2,719 MUA net. The 3 reactors, units 1 to 3, reached a state of stability with water addition within 2 weeks, and by July, they were being cooled with reused water from the new treatment facility. Midway through December, the cold shutdown condition was formally declared. Next, we're going to talk about famous hauntings and haunted houses across the world. Number 12. Following the murder of the DeFeo family, a house in Amityville, Long Island, New York, was the focus of novels and movies because to what appeared to be hauntings. The Lutz family paid a significantly reduced price for the house, but soon after moving there they reported that windows were abruptly unlocked, doors were pulled apart, oozing green slime, and cloven hoof footprints were left in the snow. Only 28 days were spent by the Lutzes in the house. The Lutzes acknowledged that practically all of the events described in the 1977 book The Amityville Horror were made up in a court case where they were being sued. Number 13. One of the top 5 haunted locations in the world is Romania's Corvin Castle. Locals claim that ever since Vlad the Impaler was killed in an ambush, the building has been haunted by its former tenant. Also, it is supposed to be haunted by the ghosts of those who died inside its walls. Number 14. Even though there are several ghost stories concerning the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, there are no primary sources that support the claim that it is one of the most haunted homes in America. They were probably influenced by Sarah Winchester, who for nearly 4 decades added her peculiar, intricate, and frequently absurd designs to the house. Number 15. Bhuli Bhatiyari Ka Mahal, Karol Bagh, New Delhi, remains of a hunting lodge from the 14th century that some people think is haunted. It is in Karol Bagh's bustling market. A large statue of Lord Hanuman that serves as a beacon for Karol Bagh can be seen on the street. People use the monument to locate the neighboring regions. This statue is close to Bagha Lake, and behind it, there is a quiet path that leads to Delhi's southern ridge. Firuz Shah Tuflak constructed Bhuli Bhatiyari Ka Mahal in the 14th century. It was essentially a hunting lodge during Firuz Shah Tuflak's rule, according to sources. Bhuli Bhatiyari Ka Mahal's entryway is composed of stones and a big gate can be noticed in the front. And there is another small door which ends into a big open courtyard. That's all I have for you today, guys. Dig in and find out some of these events yourself on Google. Hello.